What's up, y'all? Welcome back to the Loose Ends Fantasy Football Podcast, a fantasy football podcast by average fantasy football players for average fantasy football players. Today, I am your host, the reigning, undisputed, defending Drunken Draft Dynasty League champion, and I'm joined by two of the most unique characters in the fantasy football universe, if I do say so myself. First up in the black and gold corner, I have Mr. JJ, our resident Steelers super fan. When he's not crunching numbers and analyzing player stats like a true analytics nerd, he's usually busy adding to his impressive collection of football cards. If you need to know the exact yardage of a 1995 Jerome Bettis run, JJ is your guy. In the black and silver corner, Mr. Montavious, the Raiders aficionado, who brings a whole new level of flair to our show. And it's not just because he's darker than us. When he's not cheering for the silver and black, he's either tuning up his car or diving into the latest anime series. If you ever need a ride to the game or a recommendation for the best anime to binge watch, Montavious, my guy, has got you covered. What's up, y'all? How we doing today?
Doing good. Doing good.
We love
Happy
that.
to see you, boys.
What's up, y'all?
Love it. JJ, what are we doing today?
Hi. We are going through the recap of the week 4, baby.
Want to kick it off for us? Jump right into it. Which game are we talking about first?
So we're going to go right into the Thursday night football game. We had the Dallas Cowboys at the New York Giants. Final score, Dallas 20, Giants 15. Ooh, this game was nasty. Rico Dettel is the guy I want to jump into talking about first. Is averaging about 45% of snaps through 4 weeks. However, this was his highest scoring week for fantasy, and he only had 13.1 fantasy points. 11 carries for 46 yards. That's 4.18 yards per carry. Nothing like crazy. He only had one reception for 15 yards and a receiving touchdown, so that's where the 13 points really came from. The thing I wanted to talk about is it does look like he's the RB1 there in Dallas. What do you guys think? Do you think he's the RB1?
Well, I dropped Ezekiel Elliott, so
Yeah, absolutely.
That's
I think he's already
very telling. So I would say yes. I wanted to say Tyler Guyton was getting fucking torn up by Kayvon Thibodeau, their rookie left tackle on the Dallas offensive line. There was a penalty on the touchdown that Rico caught, but they just picked it up, I guess. It was really weird. Super suspect. Do you guys have any fear about Dalvin Cook? I think he'll probably play in week 5.
Monty, any thoughts?
Yeah, why not? Like, their backfield is just one big question mark, so it can't get no worse. You might as well just throw him in there and see what happens.
I agree.
I don't know about one big question mark. It's like 4 question marks. Like everybody back there's a question mark. Nobody knows what's happening. Rico Dowdle is the only guy that you're like, I might start him, and even still, you're like, do I have to? Like,
Yeah.
If you don't have to, then you really don't want to. The other player I wanted to talk about from Dallas was Eric Kendricks.
Monster.
Had another great game. 13 tackles, 21 fantasy points. He's rostered in about 62% of leagues in Sleeper. So take a look. He might be available. Really not too much to talk about on the Giants side. Obviously, I think you guys are going to hit on some of these guys, but Theo Johnson still not really relevant, not really involved like I was hoping, but I would say hold him, especially if you're in a deeper dynasty.
Yeah, Montavious, what do you think about? I mean, you're probably going to talk more about that that Giants side, especially given the fact that you gave me the 104 to give a league neighbor. So
right.
I'd love for you to talk about that that New York side. Go ahead, bud.
So I think the big thing coming in this game was Dallas's defense and how they were just giving up the most rushing yards. Their D line decided to show up this game. They only allowed like 29 total rushing yards, no touchdowns. They only gave up field goals. But I will admit that I didn't think Daniel Jones was gonna be decent, but he's been doing good enough to get his receivers involved. So Malik Neighbors had a great game before his injury. Wan'Dale Robinson had a solid game. Wan'Dale had 18.10 fantasy points. Malik had 23.10. So hey, he don't got to be dog shit, but he's decent.
The thing for me with that is their running game is so poor that they have to throw the ball, and they're probably going to be behind in most games because they're not a great football team, that they have
Yeah.
to throw the ball, which is why you're seeing these crazy target shares go to Malik and Wandale Robinson, which Wandale is a surprise to everybody, I think. Not the fact that he's getting target share, but the amount of target share that he's getting. I mean, 14 targets in a game
14
is
targets.
crazy.
Yep.
But aside from that, on the opposite side of the ball, Dallas defense, right? To me, is a team you might want to play guys against, right? Like maybe not the rushing game. This is a one off right now. We'll see if they can sustain that. But going forward, I mean, everybody seems to be doing well against Dallas. So it might be kind of how we were keying in on Carolina and we were keying in on, Washington and Arizona. Dallas might be a team looking forward that you might want to key in on who's playing against Dallas because it seems like they're going to have a big day. CD, always want to touch on CD, my dog. He's underutilized. I get his frustrations, right? I mean, even still, yes, he had a big day, but it largely came on one big play that he had. Aside from that, I mean, he really only had 7 touches when we're looking at guys like Wandale Robinson and Malik Neighbors and all these guys that are getting 10, 12, 14 targets. CD should be getting 10 targets minimum in a game, and I don't see why he's not. He only had 8 targets. I just don't want to 8 targets, and that's the second most he's had in the season. So poor play calling. I mean, that's the next question to the peanut gallery: is Mike McCarthy on the hot seat? Like, what do we think of that?
Not as much as Dabble is. Brian
Well, yeah,
Dabble is in
that's
the hot seat more than I think he
Dabble's in
is.
a world of hurt. The other thing I want to touch on: Micah Parsons had an injury, high ankle sprain. Just something to monitor. He was seen in a boot and on the scooter today, so pay attention to
D-Law
that going forward.
also.
Oh,
I think
yep, another
D-Law is
one.
also dealing with an
Where
injury.
was
So
he seen in the boot on practice or on his podcast? So.
I mean, both. But let's kick it on over to the Cincinnati Carolina game.
All right.
Cincinnati 34, Carolina 24. So Cincinnati 1-3 coming out with their first win. Monty, you want to kick us off with the Cincinnati game?
Yeah. So this was actually a fun game to watch. So initially in the offseason when Carolina made their initial moves, this is more of the team I like envisioned, but under Bryce Young. But it took Andy Dalton to give this team, signs of life, 220 yards, 2 tutties. Chuba looks really good. He went for 121 yards. I'm very interested in to see what this backfield looks like when Jonathan Brooks comes back. If they're gonna just ride the hot hand or ease him back in. Um, it's also nice to see Deontay Johnson eat under a new quarterback. First 2 weeks, 5 receptions for 34 yards in his first 2 weeks. Under Andy Dalton, 2 weeks, 15 receptions, 205 yards, 2 touchdowns. So people are fantasy relevant under Andy Dalton. So hey, thank you, Mr. Andy, for everyone who has Carolina Panthers players.
Yeah. So the thing for me with, with Deontay Johnson is we spoke about it before the season, and you guys can go back a few episodes. I had said we're looking at probably 100-yard reception season coming from Deontay Johnson. I mean, he's the really only receiver now. I'm sure JJ is going to touch on that here in a second, but I didn't expect for another man to burst on the scene the way he did. But yeah, Deontay Johnson looks good, man. I mean, you
Mhm.
can't complain about it. He's the clear WR1 in that offense. Chuba Hubbard looks good, like you said. Jonathan Brooks, are we looking at week 11 for him to come back?
They're saying week 5, 6.
Jeez,
Wow.
that'd be
Yes, I don't know how
intense.
soon they're trying to. Yeah.
Jamar Chase come back, right? He opened with a 63-yard touchdown, but if you look at the rest of the stats that came from that game, again, he's another one kind of like CD, where a lot of his production and his fantasy value largely came in one big play. So that's very interesting. Uh, Carolina would definitely be the game for those guys to get their confidence back. But now let's see how they look next week against Baltimore, right? In a
Yeah.
team that just smacked Buffalo. Another dude I really want to bring attention to is Eric All. Eric All Jr. He was a prospect on our radar this offseason, had a few injuries, but they've been getting him involved. They're hitting him with that 4 for 40, moving in that range. He's a little less than that, 4 for 24 for 30, but they're putting him in plays to touch the ball, so that's very interesting to watch. JJ, what do you think about this game?
You know, congratulations to the Bengals. They got their first W. I have had Bengals fans calling me and giving me so much shit, even though they were 0-3. I want to talk about Chase Brown. Actually looked really, really good in this game. Finally had that breakout I think we've all been kind of waiting for, hoping for. 15 carries for 80 yards, 2 touchdowns on the ground. Went 2 for 3 in receptions and had 12 yards receiving. He looked good. He looked really good. The other Bengal I wanted to touch on that I'm a little bit more concerned with is Mike Gesicki. Hey, what happened there, bud? I mean, 2 weeks ago in week 2 against the Chiefs, he had 16 points, 9 targets. And the following week, all right, a little bit down from the week before with 5 targets. But then 1 target? What's going on? Is he hurt?
Eric
I didn't.
All Jr.
I don't know what's going on with him. So I think, I think Eric All is definitely someone I would look at adding and see if he's rostered in your league. If not, try and go get him, spend some fab. That's all I have for the Bengals. For the Panthers, Blake touched on it. My boy Xavier, legit. This man is nasty. Super, super happy to see him with this amount of targets, right? 10 targets, caught 6 of them for 66 yards and a touchdown. He had 2 massive drops in this game. He looked like a rookie. This is the first time they targeted him this much. But with Adam Thielen being gone, I think that this is something that he's going to hopefully have more of. But again, this is the Bengals, and the Bengals defense has not been great, giving up points to the wide receiver position for fantasy. I do think that he is a good flex option, low end wide receiver 2 going forward, especially with Andy Dalton throwing the ball.
Love that. Monty, do you want to kick us over to the New Orleans Atlanta game?
Yeah. So Derek Carr back to reality, and with his upcoming schedule, I don't see another big like Derek Carr that we've seen in the first few weeks. He has Kansas City next, then Tampa Bay, then Denver, who just held Aaron Rodgers to basically nothing, then the Chargers. So you probably won't see a Derek Carr sighting until Week 9 versus Carolina. But Captain Kirk, doing just enough to win. Um, I just want a quarterback who's going to force feed the ball to Kyle Pitts. That's all I want. So if that means Cousins has to lose his job to Penix, that's what I'm rooting for. But I need Pitts to get targeted like he's Malik Neighbors or something like that for me to be happy. So
Yeah, you're wild for that.
Damn, 15 targets.
Yeah, something like nothing crazy. Nothing
Just a
crazy.
little 15 here or there.
Just
No
small
big
You
deal.
know, what's funny is every time that's going to be his new catchphrase. Nothing crazy. Nothing crazy.
Nothing
Because
crazy.
every time you do it, you get clipped. Jesse, what do you think about this game?
Wow. It was a good game, actually. Came down to the wire. Koo is a killer, man. If you guys have kickers in your league, that dude nailed that kick. I think it was a 60-yarder. Like Monty said, I just want to touch on really quickly. Derek Carr, back to his doo-doo performances. 28 for 36, 239 yards passing, 1 interception. And he finished with 4.06 fantasy points. Kamara had another dominating day. This dude is the number 1 running back in fantasy right now. 19 carries, 77 yards on the ground, 1 touchdown. He had 7 receptions for 42 yards. Mama! He had 9 targets. Good Lord. I love to see that. And on the Atlanta side of the ball, my God, if you were smart enough to play Troy Anderson, that man had 42.35 fantasy points this week. What'd you think, Monty? Did you get to watch him?
That man was everywhere.
He is the overall number 1 highest scoring fantasy player this week in week 4 so far. He had 9 solo tackles, 7 assist tackles, an interception, a pass defended. My God, this man was all over the field. It was a big part of the reason why I feel that the Falcons were able to win this game. Kyle Pitts, like you said, you want to see him getting more targets? I said he was my start of the week, so I'm pissed. I keep putting faith into this guy, and he's so goddamn annoying. We might as well call him Kyle Shits because he can't do shit on the field.
It's not his fault.
Goose egg alert. This man putting up zeros. I'm done. I don't want anything to do with him. Don't send me him in trades. I don't want him. That's all I have to say.
For me,
Not that you were
Atlanta's
sending him trades.
playing better than expected, to be honest. The defense we've talked about time and time again was playing quieter than I thought. We had been talking about Atlanta's secondary for the longest time, but they gave New Orleans fits, right?
Mm.
And at that, like you said, that was a large reason as to why they were able to win this game. Bijan was quiet, 11 fantasy points. He had a touchdown reception called back, should have finished with 20 to 21. That hurts the fantasy numbers, so he did his thing, but penalties will hurt. But he also had a lower snap count today than usual, right? So that's something to monitor. I don't think it was anything crazy. I think it was just game dependent. I don't think it's anything to worry about, but it's something to look at. Drake London had 12 targets today. Pretty standard, but the production just isn't where we want it to be for somebody getting 12 targets like that. But something that was interesting to me, if you look at it, right? So Alvin Kamara had 7 receptions, 9 targets, but then you have Shaheed who had 11 targets and Chris Olave who had 10 targets. So just between those guys, it's 30 targets. If you look at Derek Carr, he only threw the ball 36 times. 30 of those passes went to 3 dudes. That whole offense is going between 3 people. Nobody else is relevant on that offense. If you think that you're going to Jawan Johnson or whoever else, it's not happening.
You might be
36
lucky with the
passes.
Foster Moreau touchdown, but not on a regular
You're
basis.
praying for a touchdown from anybody else, but 36 passes and 30 of them went to those 3 characters. Come on, bro.
Yeah,
Everybody else is just an NPC at that point.
you're right.
JJ, kick us off to Jacksonville. That is your not
Ayo,
your baby team, but your
Duval!
team.
They shit the bed. What's new?
Shocker.
0-4. God damn it. Come on, Jacksonville. I am really so sad to see them doing so bad, but I'm hoping they can turn around. I got to say, the AFC South is looking like that piece of bread in the loaf of bread that you don't want, the heel. They look like the heel of the NFL right now. There is one bright shining star who I've been so excited about. He finally had a good day. Brian Thomas Jr. Woo! My Bubba BTJ had a day. He went 6 for 9 receptions on 9 targets, 86 yards, a touchdown. Yes, it was a 2-yard touchdown on a penalty. I know, but hey, touchdown's a touchdown, baby. Win's a win. 13 yards on 1 carry at 21.9 fantasy points. Wide receiver 9 on the week, which I'm pretty sure is not the case anymore because we are filming during the Monday night game and I'm seeing players are snapping during these games. So hopefully he's still in that top 9, but our top 10, I don't know if that's going to be the case. The other player I wanted to touch on from Jacksonville is actually Monteric Brown. They got some injuries in the secondary for Jax. He had a big day. He had 8 tackles. He's 25 years old, so as a dynasty asset, I think you could go get him if you need a DB. He took 74% of the snaps, at least 60 snaps on defense the last 2 games, so maybe a filler at the DB position if you need someone to fill for an injury. On the Houston side, I want to caution everybody, Dare Ogunbowale, only 39% of the snaps, but he had a good game as far as fantasy. He ended up with 4 receptions for 47 yards. And I think he had a touchdown. He had a receiving
He
touchdown.
did have a tutty.
Okay.
He has
Yeah,
a game-winning tutty, I'm pretty
Game
sure.
winning.
Good for him, but I wanted to say caution. Don't know that he's going to be able to do that. Joe Mixon's coming back, right? So don't go spend a bunch of fab on this guy thinking that he's going to be your problem solver. I don't think that's the case. But other than that, yeah, that's all I had to say. I think I would go get him if I was the owner of Joe Mixon, just for a handcuff in case Joe Mixon misses more time. That's all I was going to say.
Travis Etienne.
Ew.
I don't know how to tell you. I couldn't offload him fast enough. Travis Etienne. He started the game, had a shoulder injury about 3 plays in, still took the majority of the snaps, but does not look like the guy over there anymore. Tank Bigsby only had 9 touches, 70 yards, 8.2 yards per carry. He's continuing to do this, and it's going to be really difficult for them not to give him more of a touch share over there. The only thing that is concerning is Tank is not utilized out of the backfield virtually at all. So I think Travis Etienne will hold his spot out of the backfield, but Trevor Lawrence is buns. I mean, that's the best way to put it. Dude, straight up booty cheeks. Um, there's no reason that I want to start anybody on this offense right now. Even if they're down, a lot of those plays are tough. Flip side of the ball, Nico Collins is Himothy God. WR1, not Tank Dell. Nico Collins, not Tank Dell. Stephon Diggs had 18 fantasy points and Nico Collins had 33 fantasy points. It obviously flowed through those two guys, so we're waiting for Tank Dell to come back to watch that share drop for Stephon Diggs, but it ain't going nowhere for Nico Collins. Him. WR1 in the league. Him. Go ahead, Monty. You can talk about whatever little
He
bullshit you want
looked
to talk about with
good.
CJ Stroud.
He looked good. All right, man. CJ Stroud had his best game of his season so far. Like I predicted, he was my must start QB. 345 passing yards, 2 tutties. This game was a lot closer than I thought it was going to be, though. I thought Texans were going to blow them out. Trevor Lawrence finally, in a positive note, he finally broke double digits. He got 13.76 fantasy points. If you're looking for, something to brag about, but he threw under 200 yards. I would not have guessed at the beginning of the season that Daniel Jones was going to be a better quarterback than Trevor Lawrence, the Prince. Daniel Jones right now he's ranked 17th, currently to Trevor's 20th. What happened to that guy?
That's a
I think
fantastic question.
I think it's a bit of coaching. I don't know. Doug Peterson coaches his backup quarterbacks better. Nick Foles, for the reference.
Man,
It ain't Mac Jones.
trash.
Yeah, we saw him briefly, and he looked like shit too.
But we're going to kick us over to the Denver-New York Jets game because this game was dookie. This was a not fun game to watch, not fun game to have any fantasy players in, not fun game all around. Bad offenses all around. Like Oprah, everyone had a bad offense, and it was not fun to witness. The Jets' offensive line is a problem for everybody involved. Aaron Rodgers, Brees Hall, Braylon Allen, everybody, all personnel involved. That offensive line is an issue. Bo Nix was not looking like the hype that we gave him last week, so we apologize if anybody took the hype that we said and ran and threw him in your lineup because yikes. Bo Nix had 60 yards passing and Cortland Sutton had 60 yards receiving, so that math ain't mathin'. You figure that one out for me. But the Jets have a good defense, and I don't know if it's so good that you make teams look like that or if Denver's so bad in reality that that's what it looks like. But yeah, I mean, the Broncos had a good defense too. Brees Hall nullified, Garrett Wilson nullified, but we've pretty much seen that as we've been going across the board. If you're playing against Pat Surtain Jr., scary. If you have a receiver going up against him, they are allowing him to shadow the WR1, and he is handcuffing people, locking them up, seatbelt, double time, straps, all of it. Whatever you want to do, straight up straight jacketing any receiver that he's put against. So that's all I got to say about that game. Jesse, what do you think?
Yeah, this is an ugly ass defensive battle. One thing I do want to say about this game that you should be looking for every week: the weather. I am the weather man. I look at that shit religiously. If it's a rainy day, I would even consider putting some of my stars on the bench. Like Blake talked about, Garrett Wilson, Brees Hall, these guys did not perform. It was super underwhelming. On the Denver side of the ball, Jaleel McLaughlin was kind of disappointing. I mean, very disappointing, truthfully, because I still see him as the better back in this backfield. Beatty or Baudet or whatever the fuck his name is. I'm so sorry. What the hell happened to him? He had one carry for 0 yards. He had 2 receptions for -4 yards, and this man had a fumble. You finished the game with -0.4 points. So if you went and got Beatty and you were like, oh, I got a star, you were wrong, and I feel bad for you. Jaleel McLaughlin isn't that guy either. Look at Javonte Williams with 16 carries, 77 yards. Dude, they just can't really get anything going. But I will say the thing that I was surprised with Denver is their defense. Alex Singleton hurt. Some guys stepped up. I wasn't expecting this. Talking about PJ Locke, the DB, had 22 fantasy points, 9 tackles, 1 sack. He's only 8% rostered in sleeper. So if you, like I said, I'm looking at DBs. Not that it's like a crucial position, But I think that there are quite a few out there, so I'll just kind of point them out so you guys can go get them if you need to. But yeah, like I said, Singleton's injury was big. Justin Stranad, how do you say? I don't know.
How
He
do
played
you
well.
say last name? How do you say Monty? How do you say
It's
name?
Strnad. How the hell do you say it? Strad? Okay.
Strand.
Hey, dude was a monster. 4 tackles and a sack on 57% of the snaps. I'll take it. That's okay. And then on the New York side of the ball, Aaron Rodgers, my God, can we protect this man? He's too old to be taking 5 sacks. Shit. No wonder he couldn't get the ball to anybody. It's some bullshit. I hate that Alan Lazard was leading the receiver room with 8 targets. I mean, Garrett Wilson also had 8 targets, but he had 58 yards, whereas Garrett Wilson had 41. That's not good. Speaking
Sir
of
Tan.
unloading people, didn't you unload somebody today, Blake?
I unloaded a couple of people. One of
Dude,
them was
I
being
couldn't.
Garrett Wilson.
I'm not
Four
gonna lie.
four
Couldn't
games in,
believe
and
it.
Alan Lazard is outperforming you.
Mm-hmm.
4 games in, and Alan
I,
Lazard is outperforming you. Garrett Wilson, are you kidding me?
I
Who's
will
the
say
next
this:
quarterback?
he literally had the hardest schedule through the first 4 weeks for receivers. You know, Pat Surtain locked him down. Like you said, we got to worry about that. And now I'm looking at the New York Jets. I mean, they play the Vikings next.
Jeez.
Ooh, I don't know, man. They're not looking good right now.
Vikings are 21st against wide receivers, so that bodes well for the receiving core. And I do think going into a game against Minnesota, Aaron Rodgers has some, there's some an emotional tie there, right? You're going back to the NFC North. You're going to have that kind of rivalry with those guys, even if you're not thinking like, oh, I'm on the Jets now, but you're still Aaron Rodgers likes to own that division. So we'll see what he can do over there.
I think Aaron Rodgers is on the hot track to follow Brett Favre, go from the Jets to the Vikings next.
That would be hilarious.
Oh man, that'd
Monty,
be
what do you
crazy.
think about this game?
My main thing, so it looked like Braylon Allen outproduced Brees Hall this game. I'm sure it was just a fluke though. Brees Hall he didn't really look that good this game. Neither did their entire offense. Either way, like you said, it was a very defensive game. Bo Nix didn't have his best game either. I'm just curious. I'm curious to see what Bo Nix looks like if they were able to get some talent around him. Because granted, he faced a tough defense, but I still like him, so I'm glad he got the win. But
Yeah, good for them.
They got to get him like a Rashad White or Alvin Kamara. They got to get him somebody that he can just dump the ball down to out of the backfield.
That's
yeah,
what Jalil should be. It's
Right,
so
and he's just
frustrating.
not.
He's not. 31% of
JJ,
snaps.
kick us over to this Minnesota Green Bay game, mostly because I don't want to
Ooh.
talk about it.
Oh, I'm sorry, Bubs. It was
that was a good
hey,
game. That was fun to watch.
it was at the beginning, right? Right at the end of the first half, it was 28-0, and then they, in Viking fashion, fucked up a kick return, got the sun in his eyes, and then boom. Unfortunately, you can't advance a punt, right?
You can't
Was it a punt?
advance a muff.
A muff punt. Or a muff
Yep.
kick. So they ended up getting on the 2-yard line and then score on the next play, but it was 28-0. I went to a Packers bar, Blake, and it was fucking dead silent in there. It was like someone died. It was like a wake in that bitch. Then I left and went and saw the Steelers game, and they came back. So maybe that was good luck for you. I should never be in a Packers bar. But on the Minnesota side of the ball, Sam Darnold, the Geck Bus. Do you guys know what the Geck Bus is? Geck Bus
No,
is
nope.
God Emperor quarterback of the United States. That is Sam Darnold. There's actually a Reddit that you should go check out. That is Geck Bus. It's all about Sammy D. First drive was kind of scary. Okay, it looked like he was going to throw an interception. He got some pressure. Then 2 big plays. One to Naylor for a first down on 3rd and 15. Then Addison, boom, another great play, touchdown. And then, damn, what happened? It was like 28-0. I blinked. But the Packers came back, man. They weren't going to let that happen for too long. Sammy D finishes quarterback 9 on the week. And this is before the Monday night games are over. He had 18.5 fantasy points. He went 20 for 28, 275 yards with 3 touchdowns, an interception, and a fumble. Got to protect the ball better. Still not like I don't hate the performance because he's not turning the ball over that much. If I look at his touchdown to interception ratio, he's got 11 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Hey, he's the quarterback 4 on the season right now.
Mm-hmm.
Unreal. This just goes back to what we were talking about, earlier in the season where we talked about the schemes. The schemes matter. If you could get the right player at the right time and the right coaching, it all fits. It gels. This is looking good. Aaron Jones had a little bit of a revenge game. He was RB11 before the Monday night games. Looked fantastic out there. Ended up with 19.9 fantasy points. He had 22 carries, 93 yards. Went 4 for 5 in targets and 46 yards receiving. Nice. Good day for him. Now, on the GB side, it's nice to have Jordan Love back, man. Wow.
Hell yeah.
Dude,
Say it
this
louder for the people
guy,
in the back. Jordan Love, thank you.
an elite pocket passer. Like, I would say one of the best in the league. Finished as the quarterback 2 on the week so far. It might look like Jared Goff may give him a little bit of trouble, but 27.16 fantasy points. Even though even though we talked about, I haven't talked about it yet. 3 interceptions. It's crazy. He still had 27 points. Clean that up, back from an injury. It's going to take some time. But he threw the ball 54 times. He had 4 touchdowns. Holy shit. That elite pocket passer, man, it's amazing. However, he's 0-2 as a starter, and Malik Willis is 2-0. I can't believe that's crazy. This man putting up numbers like that, and he's 0-2 as a starter. Mamma mia, what are we talking about here? Christian Watson, high ankle sprain. See you later, bud. Going to IR. Wow, what's new for this guy? Get rid of him. He sucks. I don't like Christian Watson at all. I am sad, however, about Luke Musgrave. Looks like Tucker Kraft has really taken over. Although I will say, Tucker Kraft did have a good day, right? He ended up with 17.3 fantasy points. He had 6 receptions on 9 targets for 53 yards and a touchdown. He won 2-point conversion, but he had a fumble that was brutal. It got punched out. It was gnarly. And then he had a holding call that really negated a huge run by Emmanuel Wilson, which sucked. And then the other one I wanted to talk about was Romeo Doubs. Romeo Doubs has been super disappointing to this point. He might be available in your leagues. I don't know that he is. Let me see where he is at roster-wise. He's rostered in 94% of leagues. So I think he's going to have an increased role with Christian Watson on IR. Something to look forward to.
Montavious. You go ahead. I'll close us out on the Green Bay game.
All right. So I was not expecting Sam Darnold versus Jordan Love to be must-see TV, but it was. It was a fun game to watch. Jaden Reed showing why he's the best receiver on the team. Clearly, 7 for 8 catches, a tutty, 139 yards. To me, I don't know, it seems like that's Jordan Love's favorite receiver. That's just me though. So welcome back, Jordan Love. We missed you, especially Jaden Reed owners. Sam Darnold, like JD just touched on, I saw that too. Sam Darnold is the number 4 best quarterback in fantasy. That was crazy. And he showed up versus the 49ers, the Texans, and now the Packers. So he's not doing it versus scrubs. Like, he's doing it versus good teams. So Sam Darnold, the real deal? Looks like it.
All right. Anyway, look. First and foremost, fire this kicker, bro.
How many did he miss? 3?
I don't care. Too many, bro. We lost by 2. You miss 1, you're a fucking problem. All right? Excuse my French for all the ladies that listen in. Like, bro, fire the. If I'm a GM or I'm a head coach, I'm sorry. Did you miss 2 in the same game? Guess what? You don't have a job anymore. I could pay my daughter, who is 5 or about to be 5, to miss field goals. The fuck? Pay me $1 million to miss field goals. This is trash. Give me a helmet. I'd do this shit. Anyway, excuse my rant. Jordan Love, I don't know. Was he rushed back? Right? I mean, he threw 3 interceptions, but threw for over 300 yards, had 4 touchdowns. Did they rush him back? Was he, not prepared?
there was a play that was terrifying because he did go down and he like stayed down for a minute and he got up and he was limping a little bit. I don't know if you saw that,
Yeah.
but just take your time, heal up, brother. Don't get hurt, please.
Especially when you're on a 2-game win streak with Malik. Malik Willis back there. I mean, why not just let him fully rest up? I didn't really understand it, but I mean, who am I but a humble servant to the fantasy football world? Tucker Kraft, 9 targets. I mean, curiosity if it sustains. We're not really sure. Sam Darnold, yeah, we get it. He's balling. Addison, welcome back. I don't want to call it a breakout. We'll see what happens. You still got Justin Jefferson over there, and I don't like Jordan Addison, so we'll see what happens. If he's going to be big play and big play only, use sparingly. Xavier McKinney, 4 straight games, 4 interceptions. Thank you. Come again. Matt LaFleur costing his team 15 yards right before the half. I mean,
Yikes.
what? Here's a question. What does that conversation look like with your team, and what's the punishment for a head coach for doing something that's stupid?
Gassers.
Yeah, you got to run with the team, right? Like for everyone else that's running, you got to do it.
Hey, Dan Campbell does it for fun, okay? That's why he's winning.
Well, Dan Campbell's wild. More importantly, Dontavian Wicks dropping 2 touchdowns, so that was fun, but also catching 2 touchdowns and had 13 targets. 13 targets. No Christian Watson. 13 targets going to Dontavian Wicks. I told y'all he is a favorite target for Jordan Love, and now you take Christian Watson out of there. Even though he only had 5 receptions for 79 yards, still had 79 yards and 2 tutties. It's going to be interesting to see what that target share looks like going forward, because if he can maintain that 9 to 10 target on average going forward, I'm telling y'all, my super spicy take might come true, and y'all are all going to be hearing it for the next year. Let's move it on over to this.
Before we move on, I have one question for you.
Send it.
There's 2 teams that are leading the league. They're defensively with the most interceptions. Can you tell me who they are?
Most interceptions
as a team
is
they're tied.
Chicago.
Is it the Bears?
Nope, not the Bears.
Green Bay.
Yep.
It's got to be. I mean, he's got 4 just from Xavier McKinney. That's crazy by itself. Green Bay and yep, I'm stumped.
They're both in the NFC North. So we eliminated Minnesota? 2 teams. Yeah. Minnesota and Green Bay both have
that
8.
Threw me off.
Yep. 8 interceptions so far through 4 weeks.
Well, I mean, you know what? That was
because there was
watched someone throw 3 interceptions this week. That was probably a good guess.
But pretty interesting.
All right,
we're ready to go to the next game. Sorry.
Yeah, we'll let JJ wrap this one up. Monte, you just want to kick us off on the Pittsburgh Indy game?
Yeah. So Joe Flacco, someone who can throw the ball finally. Now I am biased because I do have Josh Downs, so he did target him 8 times for 82 yards and a tutty. But under Flacco, Pittman and Downs had a very decent fantasy showing. Downs had 22.20 fantasy points. Pittman had 17.3. I don't know. My vote, ride Flacco. He seems like a decent quarterback. I feel like you get more consistent production if you went Flacco.
It's very interesting that you bring that up because we're seeing this quite a bit, right? Sam Darnold came in, Andy Dalton's coming in, Joe Flacco's coming in. You're getting these like true pocket passers that are coming in, and we're seeing the production from the wide receivers and able to move the ball down the field. This is more of that old school feel and moving away from the mobile quarterback feel. Guys that aren't traditional pocket passers on the run and things like that. How do we feel about that going forward? JJ, I like jokes.
Oh God, I'm sorry. I sat Kenneth Walker this week, and I'm losing it over here, bro. He has 33.3 points, and there's 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter.
Because you need it. You put up 275 this week.
But bro, he's got 3
anyway.
Touchdowns. Sorry.
Anthony Richardson, obviously with the hip injury. Joe Flacco comes in, the vet. This offense was kind of what we wanted to see from the Colts that we talked about all offseason, right? All Pistons were firing. Justin Fields had a little breakout, right? A little 30+. I mean, how much more does that dude need to do to make it official that he's QB1 solidified, right? Najee was quiet, but to be expected. He had an injury designation going into the game. Aside from tight ends, right? George Pickens is the only receiver in that Steelers offense. He's the only dude that matters. If you are starting anybody else that's a receiver in the Steelers offense, you're wrong. Or you're desperate, and you probably have a lot of losses in the loss column. So That's my thoughts on it. JJ, what'd you think?
Yeah, really hard to watch this game. I mean, they were down 17-0. The Steelers were real quick.
Sounds
I
like a
mean, it
Green
came
Bay
down to
game.
the wire. It's so funny to me. Arthur Smith and Mike Tomlin come out in interviews and during the week talk about we need to come out faster. 17-0 isn't fast, okay? It's fucking trash. I don't understand what the fuck they're trying to do. We had like a catastrophic meltdown on our fucking offensive line. We lost James Daniel, our right guard, torn Achilles, out for the rest of the season. Now we got to rely on our 4th-round pick in the 2024 draft. He's a rookie, Mason McCormick. We've already got Zach Frazier at center, who's also a rookie. This offensive line is like so bad. And I want to tell all of the Steelers fans out there, fantasy fans, look, Justin Fields is not the fucking problem, okay? And I don't think that we should bench him because of one loss with a shit offensive line. This dude is getting pressured so much. He was doing a great job of like booting it out, getting out of there as much as he could. But I mean, he still got sacked 4 times. He fumbled the ball twice. He lost 1 fumble. Like you said, he still managed to have a really great game for fantasy. He had 2 rushing touchdowns. 1 touchdown to Pat Fryermuth. Move. But 312 passing yards. That's the first 300-yard game for the man. You want to bench him? Don't bench him. Just get him some goddamn protection. And honestly, yeah, you want to talk about Najee? If you watch that game, Najee didn't even have he had 13 carries and 19 yards. Dude, it's so frustrating watching him run. He gets caught up at the line every fucking time. They don't give him any space. The only reason why he was able to break into double digits is because he had a huge, I think, a 42-yard reception. He had 3 receptions on 6 targets at 54 yards. Get him more involved in the pass game. Get Justin in the gun. Have him doing the boots, play action. That's what we need him to do. No. Wilson will not take this job from him. I won't let them do this to him. He's played great. He's played fucking fantastic. Like you said, George Pickens, he finally had a 100-yard receiving game, but he fumbled the ball at the 3 fucking yard line. He drives me nuts with his ball handling skills. He loves to stick it out constantly. It's just going to continue to happen if he does this shit. But like you said, I mean, still ended up with where the hell is that at? Ooh, I think he had 16.3 points. Sorry, I couldn't find that. And then, like I said, the move tight end 2 on the week so far. 16.7 fantasy points, 5 receptions on 7 targets, 57 yards and a touchdown. Got our first loss of the season, but we'll see. We are playing the Cowboys next week. Ooh, at home. So that'll be a good one, I think. Both those defenses look like shit this week. So hopefully they can get back to doing something. Then on the Indianapolis side, just really quickly, yeah, you guys talked about the injury to Anthony Richardson. I'm the Anthony Richardson owner. I do want to say, we saw the design runs that we talked about last week. We wanted to see more of that, but unfortunately, he got hurt because of those. Just complete inexperience is so apparent with him. Just not sliding, taking these big, massive hits. Got a hip pointer injury. Comes out of the game. Joe Flacco comes in for, I think, 2 reps. They bring Anthony back in, and then Minka hits him hard. It looks like he's day to day. I don't think he's going to miss any time. But please slide it, Anthony. You're a great talent, dude. Those design runs were working. You just got to take care of yourself. Pittman actually did pretty well. 6 receptions on 9 targets, 113 yards, and it was 17.3 fantasy points. Hey, I'm happy to see you back in the Pity City, buddy. Good for you. Welcome back.
All right. Before we move over to the LA and Chicago game, we're going to take a quick break. We'll see you here in a moment. All right, we are back. We're going to kick off the LA Rams game and the Chicago game. Final score, the Rams 18, Chicago 24. That is 2 home wins for Caleb Williams. Even though Caleb Williams continues to struggle, the Chicago defense stout, right? Caleb Williams, top 5 for taking sacks in the league. Young man is having growing pains and then some. Kyron looks good. Still a workload for him. We like that. especially for me being a brand new owner of my shiny new Kyron Williams. Love that. Swift had a nice 2024 breakout game. So, major takeaway for me from this game, the Bears' passing offense is too small to feed anybody. They don't throw the ball enough with Caleb Williams. They don't utilize their passing game enough for anybody to really eat. That is my takeaway. Montavious, what do you think?
Well, first, Swift decided to show up today, so that was for that game, so that was cool. Hopefully, this is a sign that the O line is starting to figure it out in some way, shape, or form. Because when you have DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Roman Dunze in your receiving core, I feel like this team is like still disappointing. Like, yeah, they won, but I feel like with that core, I feel like it's still disappointing in a way. It's just not fun to watch. It's ugly, but good thing Chicago has an amazing defense.
Do you
So
think that if they took Jaden Daniels, they would
I
look
was
better?
thinking, I don't know.
No, I
What
don't.
if you switch
That
their
offense
slot?
sucks. Sorry, what'd you
Think?
say?
Do you think if you
What if you,
swap them,
yeah,
that do you think the Commanders get the same results with Caleb Williams?
No, no way.
Interesting.
oh,
JJ,
I
want to
think
touch on
so.
us? Tune us, touch us, touch. You know what I'm saying? Tune us in on this game. What do you think?
Okay, so on the Rams side of the ball, Matt Shatford, he shat the bed. 1.86 fantasy points, sacked 3 times, had a fumble loss, an interception. Kyron Williams, like you said, RB9 on the week, might be changing, whatever. Had a great week. 20.4 fantasy points. He's actually averaging 20.4 fantasy points through 4 weeks, which is fantastic. Gotta love that. Congratulations, Blake, on acquiring that beast of a man. Chicago side, DeAndre Swift. Hello. What? Okay, so 50% of leagues in sleeper sat that man. So I know there's a lot of pissed off people right now. He ended up with 29.5 fantasy points. Right now, RB2, week 4. What? Oh, couldn't have seen that coming. I'll tell you, it was great to see him involved on the ground with 16 carries, 93 yards, and a rushing touchdown. But we talk about it, man. 7 receptions on 7 targets, 72 yards. Man, that must be so fucking nice. I don't think we can expect this consistency, so I would try to trade him now. Right now. Get rid of him.
Yeah, that's the thing. We talked about in the beginning of the season with Caleb Williams. We thought he was going to be utilizing DeAndre Swift in the passing game more. It just hasn't happened. So that'll be something to watch.
This is the
Moving over to
first week, so
for sure. Moving over to the Philly and the Tampa Bay game. I mean, what happened to Philly? What is going on? Baker went crazy, right?
Philly,
That's
Philly.
awesome. What stood out to me, aside from the air raid, was Rashad White finally had a productive day on the ground, just like Bucky Irving. They both had 4.9 yards per carry, so that's interesting, something to monitor going forward. But I still think that Bucky Irving takes this backfield. I think he out-touched Rashad White, so it's something to watch going forward. Jesse, what do you think?
Dude, they both had 10 carries and 49 yards. Pretty trippy, actually. I feel like it's the Spider-Man meme where they're like, "Hey, you."
I feel like it's Rashad White trying to keep up with him, like the Cars thing where they're always talking about when it's Lightning McQueen and then
Yeah,
the
Yeah.
young kids passing him. That's what I feel like
McQueen's
it's like.
fading. McQueen's fading.
I love that. Hey, you know what? I got to tell you, the most concern I have for any player in this game was on the Philadelphia side of the ball, Jalen Hurts, guys. What
Yikes.
is going on? He's the QB8 on the season. I don't know how. I really don't, because he got sacked 6 times. He's been sacked 13 times in 4 weeks, which isn't the most. We'll get to that later. 10.32 fantasy points, 18 for 30, 158 passing yards. I mean, his receivers are hurt. What's he going to do? Dallas Goddard all day. Goddard, tiny one on the season through 4 weeks. Monday Night Football permitting, of course. Had 7 receptions, 8 targets for 62 yards. End of the day with 13.2 fantasy points. He's the tight end 6 in week 4. But like I said, we're waiting for these Monday night games to finish. Pretty crazy. And then I talked about Bucky and Rashad looking like the same goddamn thing. And then I have got to touch on that Hall of Fame man. M.E. Throw it to me. Mike Evans. Back to excellence. 23.4 fantasy points, baby. This is what I was hoping for. He was my start of the week. 14 targets, 8 receptions, 94 yards, and a touchdown. Wide receiver 5 on the week prior to Monday Night Football.
Montavious, what'd you think?
Yeah, Baker bounced back 30, passed it 47 times for 347 yards, 2 tutties, a rushing tutty. Like JJ said, Jalen Hurts did not do good. After watching the Philly game and the Cowboys game and the Giants and the Eagles, this might be a topic of discussion for another episode, but is it too early to say the Commanders are the best team in the NFC East under a rookie quarterback?
Nope, not too
I
early.
don't.
No?
I don't think so. I think that team looks so good. The coaching,
It's
all the way
sad.
from the top
That's
to
the
the bottom, man. It looks so
right
good.
now in
Except
this
for their
current
secondary, I'll
state.
say.
In this current state, they're the best offense in football right now.
Yeah.
Man,
Yeah, I mean,
Jaden Daniels.
Jaden's is bro, he's number 1. He's the number 1
Yeah.
quarterback in fantasy.
Don't worry.
I'm
When we
never
do our
trading.
Take It to the Table episode, we're definitely
I'm
going to bring
never,
that trade up.
I'm
Oh,
never
no.
trading rookies ever again.
Bro, you can't.
Let's-
You got to hold on.
Let's kick it over to the. Yeah, actually, before we kick it over to anything, I had no issues trading away Xavier Worthy because look at that. Come on now.
I didn't draft him.
my first round draft picks ever again.
There you go. Smart. There you go. Yeah, I mean, you gave away Malik Neighbors too. How do you feel? You gave away Jaden Daniels and Malik Neighbors in the
Bro,
same.
Imagine what my team real quick.
You could have
imagine
taken
what my
Brock
team would be.
Bowers as well.
Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Marvin Harrison Jr., Malik Neighbors.
Bro,
And
Yeah,
I
I'm
was
committing
about to take my first one.
seppuku. That's seppuku material.
Yeah,
right there.
you did all that work to get all those draft picks just to trade them away to also only score
I pulled
150
I
points.
pulled a JJ.
All right. Anyway, the New England San Francisco game. We're gonna move it over to the afternoon games. We're gonna make this quick because we got to get through it. I mean, to me, one topic that I want to talk about is Jacoby Brissett. But I want to talk about that afterwards, right? Jordan Mason looked good. George Kittle looked good. JJ, kick us off with this one. What did you think about this game?
Yeah, man. Brissett sacked 6 times in this game. He's been sacked 15 times on the year so far. He had a pick 6. He had 3 fumbles, only 1 lost. The Pats are starting him, but you cannot start this man for fantasy. In fact, I don't even care if you need him for a bye week. I wouldn't even roster this man. He's that bad. I think that the reason why they're leaving him in there is because there is no protection. None. The offensive line has not been doing their job. It's just like the Eagles to me, where they're not taking care of their quarterback. Why would they put their rookie in that much danger? They need help. God, there's so many teams that need help on the offensive line. Other than that, Ramondre Stevenson, good Lord. RB23 had a fumble in every game this season. Yikes. I don't know. Get rid of that man if you can. I don't know if you want to buy low. Maybe he'll turn things around. He does tend to be kind of fumbly, but on the San Francisco side of the ball, Brock Purdy he's averaging 16.68 fantasy points per game. Is that crazy to you? It doesn't seem like it. He had one spike week in week 3 with 24 fantasy points, and I think that's why. Currently, quarterback 12. First 2 weeks of the season, less than 10 fantasy points. I mean, I just don't understand this. Brandon Ayuk, what the hell? This dude's a lost cause. I would be trying to sell him. He's wide receiver 58 on the season right now. Who knows if it changes after tonight? I think it will. He hasn't scored double-digit fantasy points at all this season. Preseason matters, guys. It matters so much. It's so important.
Monty, what'd you think?
So yeah, Jordan Mason obviously had a bounce back game. My thing was Debo came back. Juwan Jennings, yeah, he came back down to earth a little bit, but he still led the receivers. So I wasn't expecting that. I thought Ayuk was gonna have a big game, just statistically, and maybe not a fluke that Juwan Jennings is maybe one of the guys now.
I think Debo was limited in that game, right? They were easing him back into things. You can see the production side. I think Juwan Jennings is the new Brandon Ayuk. I don't think that Kyle Shanahan and Brandon Ayuk have a great relationship, and I think they're scheming for Juwan Jennings, somebody who actually wants to be there and block and play the game. Because Kyle Shanahan's really a no bullshit coach, right? He'll just move the next guy in. They have talent to go all around that team. They don't. It sucks, right? Because they're spending money, a stupid amount of money, on a dude who doesn't want to be there clearly, but they don't need him, right? That's obvious. One thing I wanted to touch on. So I think that New England's doing it correctly, and I want to everyone take that with a grain of salt. Jacoby Brissett is just a placeholder for Drake May. But I think they're quietly doing it correct because that offensive line is not good. They don't have the weapons for him. So they're basically giving Drake May a year to kind of learn the offense and see what it's supposed to be from a guy like Jacoby Brissett who can run an offense, but it's really hard to run an offense for a bad team, right? Same thing with Ramondre Stevenson. Yes, he fumbles the ball. We got that. Jermichael Hasty didn't look great either. Obviously didn't have the same fumbles, but Ramondre Stevenson has to fight for every yard that he gets. None of this is easy. He's not behind a San Francisco offensive line or a Detroit offensive line. He has to work for every yard that he gets. So I think they're doing it right with Drake May. Let's kick it over to the KC LAC game that we had moving over here. Monty, kick us off because I know there's one man you want to talk about.
Rasheed Rice.
Rest in peace,
Oh
homie.
my
Oh,
God.
bro.
Coming into the week, Rasheed Rice was the number 2 fantasy receiver in the league. And Patrick Mahomes throws an interception, and then what's the result? A possible ACL tear. Talk about oh man, that sucks. I hate injury. I hate injuries. Um, he
Does
could
anybody
dodge the
like them?
court. No, he dodged the courts. He dodges cars in traffic, but he couldn't not make one tackle, and the season's over. That's what ends his season. That is crazy. All right, what are we talking about? Oh my God. Anyway, Xavier Worthy. He made a return from his week one. Granted, it was one of them was a bomb tutty, but I don't know. Will Worthy see more responsibility now that Rasheed Rice is out? I don't know. We'll see. But damn, that sucks.
Nope. JJ, what do you think?
Listen, Pat Mahomes looked like Pat Mahomeless, okay? What the fuck happened? This dude, not only is he playing like shit, he has 6 touchdowns and 5 interceptions on the season. He tackled his own receiver and tore his ACL. Fuck are you doing, dude? Just get out of here, dude. I'm so mad. 15.62 fantasy points averaging on the season. Still the quarterback 13. How? I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. My fears for Carson Steele to kind of be the RB1 on this offense came to fruition. That man is not ready to be an NFL running back. Good God. I feel bad for you guys that paid up for him because what the hell was that? He finished the day with 10.5. Oh, wait. Let me see. Hang on. I'm looking at Kareem Hunt. Sorry. No, he had negative 0.4 fantasy points, 2 carries, 6 yards, 1 reception, no yards receiving, fumble lost, booty. Kareem Hunt, though, is someone I said I think that is going to be the guy there. And he's got, 14 carries in his first appearance, 69 yards, 2 receptions for 16 yards receiving. It's going to get better. But on the Chargers side, good Lord, they got problems. QJ, dude, Quentin Johnson is the Quentin Johnson that I drafted and was worried about and traded away as fast as possible. He went 1 for 5 in this game. That is atrocious. He had 9 yards. Barf. Dude, this game was so close, but the offense was trash. And I got to tell you, Joe Alt and Rashawn Slater missing because of injuries is a very serious problem for this team going forward.
I agree. For me, Lad McConkey was the only kind of high point for the Chargers, in my opinion. Had a good little day. Kelsey, right? Rashi Rice is out now. Kelsey made his return. I think he's back to being a must start, right?
Mm-hmm.
Given the injury to Rice, you got to start him now. I mean, who are the weapons over there? Kareem Hunt obviously leads this backfield going forward, no doubt in every facet. Xavier Worthy, I don't believe. You haven't had more than 4 targets on the entire season. You're schemed for deep ball plays. You're basically Jahan Dotson 2.0 at this point. You cannot rely on somebody for the big playability. Yes, we talk about it all the time. We love the big play, the Jameson Williams and those guys. We're seeing Jameson Williams get involved in other facets of the game now. 6, 7, 8, 9 targets in a game. I think he had double-digit targets twice already this season. Xavier Worthy averaging 4 targets a game. You cannot rely on him to be a every week player for you. I don't think with Rashi Rice going out, they're going to change the game script for Xavier Worthy just because his size is such an issue. I don't think they want him to get injured. He's he's solidified in his current position, which is taking the top off the defense. So I don't think we'll see much movement there. But let's kick it over to the Cleveland and the Poop Vegas Raiders, who had a win this week.
Poop.
It didn't even feel like it.
I'm going to kick it off. Trey Tucker, surprisingly efficient day. I like Trey Tucker. Like him so much, I traded him away. Brock Bowers had the struggles, right? You're getting the ball thrown to you by Minshew Madness, and that offense needs Devontae to open things up. It's obvious, right? And I again state this is a public service announcement to anybody who has anybody on the Cleveland roster. I am sorry. You trade them, auction them for money, free agency money at this point. I mean, yikes. JJ, what'd you think?
Well, I think that there is some good news for Cleveland, and that is they opened up the 21-day practice window for Nick Chubb, who they so desperately need. Although I don't know if it's this offensive line is bad or if they just really, really hate Deshaun Watson. I'm going to go with really, really hate Deshaun Watson and want to see
As
him
they
dead.
should.
Because this man has been sacked the most times through 4 weeks. 19 times. It's so bad, dude. I cannot believe this. He got sacked only 3 times in this game. He went 24 for 32, 176 yards passing, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 8 carries for 32 yards. And the 3 sacks really kill you, I got to tell you. He's the quarterback 15 in fantasy. It's the rushing, man. It's the rushing that's going to get in there. 4 touchdowns on the season. And 3 interceptions. 4 passing touchdowns. What is going on this season with quarterbacks? I'm so frustrated and annoyed, and I don't like it. Amari Cooper got robbed of a big touchdown. It was an 80-plus yard. I think it was like 82-yard touchdown. They called a holding call, but I didn't see that. I don't know if you guys saw that play. He ended with 7.5 fantasy points. That is not the Amari Cooper we know and love. Blake Whiteheart, tight end for the Browns. I mean, they're kind of trying to figure it out with David Njoku being injured. Went 3 for 3 with 13 yards and a touchdown. Not rostered, I think, at all. So maybe just a stash for now. He's 24 years old. Maybe he kind of fits in that role, but we'll see when David Njoku's healthy and he comes back. The Las Vegas side of the ball, send help. But they won this game. It's crazy. Send help. I'm telling you, it's scary when they play that bad and they win games, because this is you guys are thinking that I was crazy when I was complaining about being 3-0, but we lost our first game because I saw the inefficiencies and things that when we play a good team, we're going to lose. If they get too comfortable, the Raiders, they may lose some games that they could potentially win. Brock Bowers was the guy I wanted to talk about the most on that side of the ball. Targeted only 3 times. He caught 2 of those. He ended up with 5.1 fantasy points. Not what you were expecting, but hopefully he gets back to greatness soon.
All right, for me on that side of the ball, I mean, it's tough, right? When you think about the Cleveland side and Nick Chubb coming back, I just don't know what they're going to do. And I agree with you. I think that offensive line just hates Deshaun Watson. You know what's funny to me? You know that video they did with Stephon Diggs when they went to the locker room? They said, who would you least likely let your sister
Let's
date?
sleep with your sister.
If it's not unanimously Deshaun Watson in the Cleveland locker room, like I don't know what else there is. Montavious, this is your beloved team. What did you think about this game?
I think we look like ass. First off, Zamir White, I had so much hope for you. 17 touches, 50 yards, and a fumble. Like, bro, talk about a letdown. I don't know. Is he a buy low candidate? Maybe. Gardner Minshew, 130 passing yards, but he got us the win. Another game we won. I'm surprised we won. We didn't have Max Crosby. We didn't have Devontae Adams. So we beat the Browns, who have a good defense. We beat the Ravens, who look good. Like, I don't know what our identity is. Like,
you guys are trying to figure it out.
Like, it's so confusing. But
I love Antonio Pierce, though. He's a great coach.
I love him too, man.
He's
like,
a good
damn,
dude.
bro.
I like him a lot. I will say that your defense. Did we talk about the guy that gave up? The corner, Jack Jones or something.
Mm-mm.
Oh man, I'm gonna have to send you that, Monty, off air. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No worries. Let's kick it over to the Sunday night football game. Buffalo and
Ooh.
Baltimore was a great game. Jesse,
Was
do
it?
you want to kick us off?
For
It's
the
a goddamn
Ravens.
blowout. Blowout. Buffalo side of the ball. Goodness gracious, what the hell happened? Josh Allen, 4.3 fantasy points, 16 completions on 29 attempts, 180 passing yards. Okay, so the Ravens, they expose you guys. You need to pass the goddamn ball. Big surprise. We saw that coming. One fumble lost by Josh Allen, sacked 3 times. Ooh. Ty Johnson, 1 carry for 3 yards. How did he end up leading the running back room? Because he had a touchdown. James Cook, 5.8 fantasy points. Yucky. Didn't do good. 9 carries, 39 yards. 1 reception for 9 yards. Yucky. Keon Coleman, my baby. 3 for 4. 3 receptions, 51 yards. They need to get him more involved too. I don't know. That receiving core is so frustrating. Dalton Kincaid didn't look too bad. 5 receptions for 47 yards. Okay. Like that. On the Baltimore side of the ball, Action Jackson is back, baby. 22.64 points. 13 for 18, only threw the ball 18 times. Come on now. 156 yards passing. Good Lord. 2 touchdowns, though, through the air. 6 carries, 54 yards. That's what we want. We want that 50-yard rushing line for our quarterbacks. 1 touchdown. I had a fumble loss, and he got sacked 1 time. He's actually only been sacked 4 times on the season, which is pretty impressive. They're 4 weeks. We talked about it off air. His average depth of target was 7 yards before this game. I don't think it was much better after only throwing the ball 18 times. It's not like he had any huge, like touchdowns or huge throws. Like the receivers didn't have more than 23 yards. That was Rashad Bateman. Good Lord. Derrick Henry carried this team to a victory. That's really what it was. Zay Flowers, 3 targets. Dude, get him more involved. It's so frustrating.
Love that. Let's kick it over to Monty. Last one of the day. What did you think about this game?
I'm just gonna repeat what I said last week. Did they figure it out? Give Derrick Henry the ball, let him eat, you win.
You're
24
right.
carries, 199 yards, some tutties, equal to dub. I think the Ravens' run defense was the highlight of the night because the Bills earlier in the season you could tell that they wanted to run the ball, and the Ravens did not let them do that, which didn't really open up much in the passing game. So that's my takeaway. Have the Ravens finally figured out their identity though? Does it look like it finally?
If their identity is not throwing the ball to their tight ends, yeah, they found it. Yeah, that's a fucking
Oh.
fact. Baltimore
Ouchie.
came to play, right? The king, Derrick Henry. One thing I want to touch on, Khalil Shakir has eclipsed 10 fantasy points in 4 straight games. So if you're in a deeper league or you're looking for a consistent flex play, that might be the guy. Right now, with the same things coming forward, Keon Coleman had a good little day, came on late in that game, and Dalton Kincaid his target share is slowly increasing, so that's definitely something to monitor. Mark Andrews equals a BUM bum. That dude is droppable. I refuse to drop him. I will trade him for Fab at this point, but he is droppable for sure. Do we have anything else we'd like to touch on before we wrap up this fun recap episode?
No.
All right. JJ, anything for the people at home?
Hey, thanks for joining us. We love you guys. Come listen to us again soon. We're going to hit you with our essential starts next week, and we can't wait for you to come back. Bye. Thank you for joining us.
Montavious.
Like, comment, subscribe. Hit us in the comments on how we can improve, y'all. Appreciate y'all watching.
Y'all know what it is. Smash all them buttons. We'll see you next time.